So, Chris came out here, we shot the disclosure. There's some really, really amazing stuff in there that covers so many different topics, including all the material about exotic metamaterials, quasi-crystals, sacred geometry inside microscopic molecules, what happens when you have those things, which could be called microclusters, for example. They repel charge from going inside. They have incredible durability. And it turns out that with certain types of quasi-crystals, if you electrify them, you get anti-gravity. The shape of the material causes little orbs of charge clusters to come off, just like Dr. Shoulders discovered. So there are certain materials that will create levitation just by electrifying them. And that apparently is one of the technologies that was on some of the stealth designs. And this is one of the technologies that was leaked to Art Bell and was called Art's Parts, where he describes a compound that has bismuth in it. That's one of the key alloys. And if you electrify this bismuth alloy, it starts levitating. Well, that's true. It works. Because the bismuth shoots out charge clusters as it gets energized. The sacred geometry creates the needle points that you need to roll off and create charge clusters, and that's what nature does. So there's some really cool stuff you can do with exotic metamaterials, and that's one of the really exciting things about aerospace is how the big money that's being spent on developing new stealth coatings and new radar evasion technologies and hypersonic technologies, all this kind of stuff. As that technology gets developed, it has incredible consumer spin-offs, which include power plants. So one of the things that we're hoping to do, and I'm going to take a drink of water, I'm very thirsty. You want to see your comments again here? Here they are. It's always moving. No lithium. Don't worry, we're not going to use lithium if we can avoid it. There's power plant technologies that are very amazing. They're safe, they're easy to use. So what we're planning on doing, hopefully, is having a device that creates, let's say, 50 kilowatts, which is more than enough to run your house, and it costs $5,000. And one of the things that we're looking at possibly doing, I don't know which one we're going to do, but one of them is the thorium reactor. And if we use thorium, believe it or not, I guess it was World Book Encyclopedia in 1956, all these agents went around the country and ripped out the T page on thorium because it was discovered that you can make energy with thorium without radioactivity, basically cold fusion. And it works a lot better than the Pons and Fleischmann method, by the way. The thorium reactor, we would have to create a thorium fuel, which currently involves the use of high-energy particle accelerators. We would have to redesign that system to be able to do it in bulk. But that fuel could become very inexpensive if we designed it in bulk. And then in that case, if you have a thorium design, there's no radiation, it's totally safe. If it breaks open, you're not in any danger. And you only put fuel in it once a year, and the fuel is non-toxic. The reaction does not create radiation, but it does create energy. So the thorium reactor we might do, but there are other ones that wouldn't even require fuel. They just run. And there's magnetic designs. There's all kinds of interesting things. And so part of what my job is going to be in the company is to figure out which of these technologies is the most environmentally friendly, isn't going to create toxic runoff, isn't going to do damage to you if it's turned on. There are some types of energy devices that create adverse health effects, which we certainly do not want. And so either way, the goal is to get it down to about $5,000, where once you've made this investment, your house just runs. It's similar to having solar panels, except that you don't have to worry about the sun running out of energy, or that there's clouds or snow or anything like that. In this case, there would probably also be a great number of jobs created for the utility companies as they begin working to transition us from wired power to in-home installations. So there's going to be an enormous job market for in-home installations to get the $5,000 50 kilowatt device hooked up to your circuit breaker so that your house is now being powered. But I want you to think about this. You have become financially independent. Once you have that device, once it's paid off, you don't have to ever pay an energy bill again. You don't ever have to worry about running out of money getting the lights turned off. So that's incredible. to have that freedom where your cost of living is going to go down so much, because something like 75 to 80% of the money that we spend is on heating and cooling and various fuels. And that would include gas money for driving. That would include air conditioning and heat in the winter. So if you can heat your home, if you can cool your home, and you're not paying for it, that puts like 80% of the money that you earn back in your pocket. And that gives you freedom where you can start saving money. And then when we have the hover car technology, the technology, we know it works. It's already been done in the inside world. And the Navy declassified this specifically to save our nation, hence Salvator Pius, savior of our nation. This looked like low-hanging fruit to me. I said, let's build this patent. So there may be aspects of the Salvator Pius patent that we use. Now, the hover car is also a very fascinating topic because there are some technologies that most people don't know about that are going to go into its construction. For example, if you look at volcanic glass, that type of material is known as basalt. And there's basalt everywhere. It turns out that because basalt is something that directly crystallized out of a very intensely heated molten material, that when you mess around with basalt, you can get quasi-crystals. You can get the same type of exotic matter physics that I was talking about with the bismuth, the arts parts, where if you electrify arts parts, they lift up off the table. Well, that's one of the things you can do with these composites that are made from volcanic basalt. They also are the secret to developing the type of materials that you've heard about in crashed UFOs, where the material cannot be cut, it cannot be bent, it cannot be burned, but it is very, very lightweight. That's the secret. Because it was already molten in the volcano, you can make it into a quasi-crystalline lattice where it has incredible hardness and is very, very lightweight. So apparently the manufacturing technology that we're going to start using for the hover car is that we're going to print them, 3D print them out of volcanic basalt, which is cheap. So the materials are cheap. It's going to require new machines, new tooling. They've already done it before, believe me. But we're going to be doing it openly. And so our original plan with Stavatti was that we acquire this facility in Niagara Falls, maybe another facility in the area, and we go into manufacturing and we create a new city in Wheatfield Business Park, which is immediately north of where the plant is, that we actually create, roads and septic and electric, and we create housing, and we have different types of housing for different types of budgets. And we're going to have high-end jobs that pay well.